way here on their own unless maybe one of us helps them. Your coworker might need just a little encouragement. And on this wall, if there's a person you're praying for, and you're like, man, there's a person in my life that I just really need God to move in their life, put that on this wall. And then if you're following the Facebook page and you're doing all that stuff, all you have to do is periodically look at your own little live feed, and it'll show you there's some guy who needs some help. There's some lady who needs some prayer. And then let's just do it. Let's start by using some weird technology that some other people developed and made millions and billions of dollars off of, and let's leverage their billions to do something that we need to do in this town. Does that make sense? Does that work for you? Okay. I got to close this out because there's, like I said, it's kind of hard for us sometimes to relate to Jesus, but there's a guy in this story that we can easily relate to, and it's the blind man. Take a look at the rest of this passage, and you're going to see something here. By the way, I skipped over that verse in Luke 6 where basically God is just telling you you can't outgive him. If you give big, God gives big back to you. But let's get to this blind man. Start in verse 8. His neighbors and those who'd formerly seen him begging asked, "Isn't this the same man who used to sit and beg?" Some claimed that he was. Others said, "No, he only looks like him." But he himself insisted, "I am the man." Write that down, that little phrase. I am the man. The first thing that goes on in this guy's life after he's got his sight back, after he's got his sight for the first time actually, is people doubt that he's the right guy. He says, no, it's me. I'm still the same guy that was begging yesterday. It's just now I'm not bumping into you. It's still the same person. I'm still me, he's saying. Then, keep going. How then were your eyes opened, they demanded. He replied, the man they called Jesus made some mud and put it on my eyes. He told me to go to Siloam and wash. So I went and washed, and then I could see. I want you to jot this down. Write down just the facts. Because that's all he's got. He doesn't say Jesus healed him. Do you notice that? He does not say Jesus healed me. He says Jesus made mud. Jesus made mud, put it on my eyes, told me to wash. I went and washed, and then when I washed it off, I could see. It's just a simple chain of events. He's just reporting what happened. And then the story goes on. I'm not going to read the whole rest of it for you. I'll just summarize it. The Pharisees and the leaders of the synagogue call him in, and they say, okay, tell us what happened. He goes, I don't know what happened. All I know is I was blind, and now I see. He's giving just the facts. Just the facts. I was blind, now I see. And then as you keep on going down, you find, let's find the passage. In verse 17, finally they turned again to the blind man. What have you to say about him? It was your eyes he opened. The man replied, he is a prophet. Jot that down. I'm the dude, then just the facts, then he is a prophet. All of a sudden he's just made a conclusion about Jesus. He's got to be from God. If you keep reading the story, one more thing happens where the Pharisees call the mom and dad to come in, and they say, is this really the guy? Was he really blind? They say yes. And then they call the man back again, and they say to the man, okay, give God glory. Tell us the truth, what really happened. And the guy says, man, I already told you. Do you want me to tell you again so that you become his followers too? And then finally he does this thing. He says, listen, no one has ever healed a blind man. No one has ever healed a guy like me. Blind from birth. It's never happened. In the history of the world, it's never happened. Therefore, God must be working through this guy. And if God is working through him, he can't be a sinner because God doesn't work through people who violate his commands. And so if God is working through him and he's the one who healed me, he's got to be something special. He's got to be from God. This Jesus fellow has got to be from God. And then finally, Jesus meets up with the man and he says, okay, what do you think about me? And the man says, listen, I don't even know you. And Jesus says, I'm the one who healed you. And he falls down on his knees and he says, my Lord, and he worships him. Write down that last phrase, my Lord. You see, the man who was blind and was healed, he didn't have anything. He didn't know anything. He didn't know who Jesus was. All he knew was, I was blind and now I can see. Now check this out. He says, I was blind, but now I see. That's all he knew. He knew the facts. But as he shared the facts, he got more. First the facts, then he's a prophet. Then finally, as he's talking, the thoughts begin to brew in his head. He must be from God, until finally he meets Jesus face to face. Jesus says, I'm the guy. And it all clicks with him and he says, you are the Lord. And he bows down and he worships Jesus right there. Here's the deal. The man had nothing, but what he had, he gave away. When people asked him the question, he gave them whatever he had. Who are you? I'm the blind man. That's all he had. He gave what he had, and in the giving, God gave him more. In the giving, in the process of sharing what he knew about Jesus, he himself gained more insight until he got to the place of recognizing, yes, he is my Lord. I just want to encourage you. There are two issues that we have to deal with. One is whether or not we're going to help someone come to know Jesus, and the other one is whether or not we're going to help someone get their life together. Okay? In terms of like material things, financial things. That's the stuff we're talking about when we're talking about refreshing the world. If you want to be a person who's got it and who's giving it to others and who's making sure that everyone around you thinks you're awesome and cool and all that jazz, then what you need to do is you need to be part of this movement that says, I'm going to bring Jesus to you as much as I know, because I know he's going to give me more the more I give. And I'm going to bring myself and my wealth to you as well, as much as I have, because I know as I give, he's going to give more. That's the way God works. I think we got to take a risk on it this year. I think we got to step out. We got to get out there to the place where we don't feel comfortable anymore and say, it's time for me to take God at his word and run this risk of telling someone what I know they need to hear and offering Jesus to someone I know doesn't have him, and giving a little bit financially when I don't think I can. I want to encourage you to come this week to our vision dinner, where we're going to be talking about what this church intends to do together, especially on that financial end of things, so we can all be together. But there are just a couple things at the bottom of the page. How to take this home. Listen, if you haven't met Jesus like that blind man, that's your first step. I encourage you to hang out afterwards today. Come to the Elements